Hi everyone, welcome to this next video. So in this one we're going to be talking about angles in polygons. Okay, so we're going to cover quite a few different things. We've got some key rules written down here on the right hand side that it's worth you noting down, and we're going to go through each of those in turn. We're going to look at some basic problems that we have with polygons. We're going to talk about some worded problems there, and then we're also going to talk about some problems like this as well. So let's jump straight in and look at the key rule. So first thing you need to identify is this rule here. This formula, n minus 2 times 180, is really important. The n stands for number of sides, okay? So that first bit, n minus 2 times 180, stands for number of sides. And that basically tells you, if you've got, let's look at this question here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 sides. We take away 2, and we times it by 180. That will tell us what each of these angles has to add up to altogether. So we're basically doing 3 times 180, which gives you 540 degrees. Now you might just be able to memorize that. You might be able to memorize that a 5-sided shape is 540 degrees. But if you had something like a 15-sided shape, you'd do 15 minus 2 times 180. Now, key thing to identify is the fact that we've got lines here. These lines tell us that this shape is regular. And because it's regular, it means that they are all the same. If all the sides are the same, it means that every angle is going to be the same as well. So what I can then do is I can do 540 divided by 5, and that gives me one angle. So that, in this case, would be 108 degrees. So I could say that that angle there is 108 degrees, 108, 108, 108, 108, okay? So by using that first rule, that tells you the total of the interior angles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 540. And then if it's a regular shape, just divide it by the sides and it tells you what one of them is. If it's not regular, then it's a bit different, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. Okay, the next thing, exterior angles will always add to 360. So let's look at this part here. Now an exterior angle is this bit here, this bit here, this bit here, this bit here, and this bit here. And you can see that this has 5 exterior angles. So if I know that they should always add to 360, I could do 360 divided by the 5, okay? And that will tell me how many degrees each one of those is, because again, this is a regular shape. Now, when you do that, you end up getting 72 degrees. If you didn't have a calculator, you could use bus stop method, or if you did have a calculator, you could just work it out, okay? So if it was bus stop method, 360 divided by 5, 5 doesn't go into 3. So how many times does 5 go into 36? Well, it's 7 times. 7 times 5 is 35 with 1 left over. 5 into 10 is twice, okay? So we can see that in each one of these is 72 degrees. So always remember, exterior angles adds up to 72 degrees. Exterior angles always adds up to 360 degrees. So just remember that, okay? Then the final rule here that we've got written down is about interior plus exterior. So if I take one interior and I add the exterior together, that should always make 180 degrees. Now the reason is because we've got a straight line. Okay, so it's really important you understand if you've got that one, you can find that one. And if you've got that one, you can find that one. Again, these will only be the same in a regular shape. Okay, if the shape's irregular, then they'll be slightly different each. Okay, so that's really important to get your head around. Now I'm just going to quickly talk to you about why this formula works and why that is the case. So we know each one of those is 108 degrees, but why do we use n minus 2 times 180? Well, the reason is because if you were to pick a point in your shape and draw a line from each point to the corners, we can see we've split it into 3 different triangles. Okay, and in a triangle, we know that the angles add up to 180 degrees. So in that first triangle there, this angle, this angle, this angle is 180. This one, and this one. In the next triangle, this one, and this one. So the reason is that we use that formula is because basically it tells me how many triangles are in the shape. There's 1 triangle, 2 triangles, 3 triangles, which is how I get the 3. Okay, so that 5 minus 2 tells you the number of triangles in your shape. Okay, right, so what you've got now is a little one for you to have a go at. It's a regular shape. You could pause the video and have a go at this yourself. what's each interior angle, what's each exterior angle, and then pause the video and have a go at it. Okay, so let's jump straight in and have a look at this. So we're going to this n minus 2 times 180. Let's count the number of sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going 8 minus 2 times 180 first of all, which is 6 times 180. And when you work that out, again, it could be that you have it on a calculator. It could also be that you have to just work it out using normal multiplication. We know that each of these angles, so all of these 8 angles here, must add up to 1080 degrees. Because it's regular, I can then just divide it by 8. Make sure you divide by 8 there and not by the 6. It's divided by the number of sides. And when you do that, you end up with 135 degrees. So I know this one here is 135, 135. So each one is 135 degrees. Okay, perfect. So that would be your interior. And then there's 2 ways you could work out the exterior. Well, I know that these 2, again, added together, if we look at this last rule, interior plus exterior must be 180. So you could just very simply do 180 and then take away the 135. And that would give you your 45 degrees. So that gives me 45 degrees. And again, each one here would be the same. So these are all 45. Or you could just very simply go, it has to add up to 360. And when you do 360 divided by the number of sides, which is 8, you end up with 45 degrees. Anyway, so that tells you what one of the angles would be. Now, you could always work that bit out first to find that. And once you've got the 45 degrees, then you take that away from 180 and you'd end up with the 135 as well. So there's a couple of different ways you could find interior and exterior. Okay, so these 3 rules are really important. Make sure you've got those written down somewhere and something to revise from. Let's now look at another style of question that we'd have, so it's a little bit more worded. So it says shape A is a regular polygon. Okay, really important here. It says regular, and it's a polygon. So a polygon is just any number of sides. So the regular part is really important. It has one exterior angle of 18 degrees. So let's just imagine what this might look like, right? So if I just drew a random shape like that, it tells me that the exterior angle here, that's the exterior, is 18 degrees. Okay, so if we know that, let's go back to this rule up here. Exterior angles will always add to 360. So all I'm going to do is 360 and divide it by one exterior angle. And if you do 360 divided by one exterior, it will tell you the number of sides. Okay, that's really important to remember as well. So 360 divided by whatever one exterior angle is will give you the number of sides. So in this case, 360 divided by 18. And when you do that, it tells you it's 20. So therefore, this shape has 20 sides. Okay, so anytime you are told what the exterior is, you could always work out how many sides it's got. Let's go back to this example here, right? If I was told that this was 45 degrees, all you do is 360 divided by 45. And when you do that, it tells you it's 8, which is 8 sides. Okay, so you can always reverse this concept here to find the number of sides, which is what I've done here. Okay, so really important to remember that. It could be another thing you add down as you notice. So a regular polygon has one interior angle of 150 now, so slightly harder than this one, because this one gave me the exterior, this one's telling me the interior, and it's asking me how many sides it's got. So again, draw it out. If you've ever not got the diagram, just draw it out. So what it's telling me is that this one here is 150 degrees. Okay, well if that's 150, I can now find the exterior, right? So just think about, what do you know? We know that these 2 added together have to give me 180 degrees. I take away the 150 and I'm left with 30 degrees. So I can work out that this exterior angle here is 30 degrees. It's asking me how many sides does it have? So therefore I'm doing 360 divided by the 30. I do that, it gives me 12 sides. Okay, so that's a really nice example there of linking to what we did here, but just adding an additional step because it gave you the interior. So if you're given the interior, find the exterior as well. You know, if you were given the exterior, you could find the interior, but the interior wouldn't necessarily help you find how many sides it has. You're going to need the exterior to work that out, which is what I've done there. Okay, so last little bit, then we're going to look at some more complicated questions about where there's multiple shapes involved, and then how we would begin to solve these ones. Okay, so let's look at these ones here then. Let's read what we've got. So, regular, and it's a pentagon. Okay, so a pentagon is 5 sides. Okay, so shape A is a regular pentagon with 5 sides. So that's shape A. Shape B is a square. So with a square straight away, we know that all the sides are the same and all those angles are going to be 90 degrees. So I can just write that on straight away. And it says shape C is an equilateral triangle. So meaning all sides are the same, all angles are the same. Okay, so let's fill in what we know. Well, we've already done that with the square. Okay, so we know that each one of these sides would be the same, and we know each angle would be 90 degrees on there. So I'm just writing that down so I can fill in everything I know. The equilateral triangle is an important one to think about. I know that all these angles are going to be the same. Now it has to be 180 degrees because it's a triangle. So you do 180 divided by 3 to get 60 degrees. Okay, the reason I'm dividing by 3 is because it is an equilateral triangle and each one has to be the same. So what I've now worked out so far is that's 90 degrees, that's 60 degrees. What's the question actually asking me? Well, the question's actually asking me to find x. I've missed off x, guys. X should be that bit there, sorry. So that's what x would be. Okay, so in order to then find x, I'm going to need to find this one as well, because if I think about this, that, and that all together is a full circle. And hopefully you know that that should add up to 360. I know that that's 60 and that's 90. I now just need to find this bit here. So you could pause the video if you want to and have a go at doing this one. Or you can watch me do it. It's entirely up to you. So let's go back to shape A. I'm going to do n minus 2 times 180 again. I know it's 5 sides. Minus 2 times 180. And we already did that in the previous one. 3 times 180 is 540. And I just want 1 because all of these added together would be 540. But I just want 1, so I divide it by 5 to get 108 degrees. So that angle there is 108 degrees. So what I can now do is I can add all of these together. So this, and this. To work out, I've got 108 plus I've then got the green 90 plus I've got the 60. And when I add all that together, so 108 plus 60 plus 90 gives me 258 degrees. So all of that added together, 108 plus 90 plus 60 is 258 degrees. And I know that the whole thing all added together must be 360. So I'm just doing 360 minus 258 because I know it's got to add up to 360. I've got 258 degrees and that gives me 102 degrees. So x would therefore be 102 degrees. Okay, so that's quite a nice example of multiple shapes being put together to help you then solve the problem. So last one here we're going to look at a little bit different, maybe slightly harder, because actually now we don't have a regular shape. So it's no longer equal in terms of its sides and stuff. So it tells me actually in the question that it's irregular, okay, which means that the sides aren't the same. It also tells me that angle AED, and it's worth noting when you've got this, it's talking about the angle in the middle of the 3 letters. So AED means I go AED. So this angle here is 2 lots of CDE. So that is referring to angle DCDE. So it's referring to that angle there. So angle E is twice the size of this angle. Now I'm using x there. You don't have to use x. You could just say 2 and 1 if you wanted to think about it like ratio. But by linking it into the algebra, it's just going to make it a little bit easier for me to get my head around what to do. So let's have a look at this. It's a pentagon, so we know it's got 5 sides. So the first thing I should be thinking again, n minus 2 times 180. And I know that we've done that a few times now. 5 minus 2 times 180, which means I'm doing 3 times 180, which is 540 degrees. So I know that all of these angles in here added together have to give me 540 degrees, okay? Now, what I've actually got are different angles this time. I've got a 90-degree angle in the bottom left. I've got 110 degrees up here, and I've got 130 degrees at the top there. Now that's what I've got. Okay, so currently what I've got is 330 degrees. Okay, so if you add all that together, 90 plus 110 would give you 200, plus the 130 is 330. So between that angle, and that angle, I have 330 degrees. Now I know that that plus that plus that plus that plus that has to give me 540. So the next thing I need to then think about doing is 540 degrees minus the 330. Okay, by doing that, it will tell me what these two angles have to add up to. So when you do 540 minus the 330, it ends up giving you 210 degrees. Okay, so these two together have to add up to 210 degrees. Now, if I knew that they were perfectly equal to each other, well, I'd just divide it by 2. But actually this time, and this is the key to this question, is I'm actually not dividing by 2, I'm dividing by 3. So you would then have to do 210 divided by 3, which is 70. The reason I'm dividing by 3 is because it tells you that that is 2 parts and that's 1 part, because that one's twice as big as that. So when you say 1 part is 70, so x is 70, and then the 2x would be 2 lots of that, which is 140 degrees. Now, what I can then do is I can check I'm correct, because if I add all of these together, it should give me that 540. So let's just double check it. 110 plus 90 plus 130 plus 140 and plus 70. When I type that into the calculator, it does give me 540. Okay, so that's how you can just check your answer is correct. So I know it's right. Okay, so that's all the stuff you need to know about polygons. Just remember, let's go back to our key rules. This box here, really, really important. Make sure you've got that written down, and that will kind of set you free onto any polygon question that you've got. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.